Hey, high school literacy leaders. This is DLC Foster Yankee, and I would like to welcome you back to Curriculum Chats. In this video, I'll be discussing the third lesson in the third section of the Friday Night Lights unit. Here are the goals, TEKS, and ELPs for this lesson. Students will participate collaboratively, offering ideas or judgments that are purposeful in asking relevant and insightful questions and tolerating a range of positions about gender in high school athletics. They will analyze characteristics of Bissinger's and Papano and McDonough's thesis, strong supporting evidence and commentary in their text, and evaluate how Bissinger's and Papano and McDonough's use of language informs and shapes the perception of readers of each of their texts. We have two texts for this lesson, H.G. Bissinger's Friday Night Lights and an article from the Christian Science Monitor titled Women and Men in Sports, Separate is Not Equal. Several tools will be used for this lesson, including the Evaluating Ideas, Friday Night Lights Mentor Sentence Handout 3, Mentor Sentence Journal, Vocabulary Journal, and Working with Mentor Sentences tools. The students will also be using the Friday Night Lights Section 3 question set. Right, our lesson overview is we will continue our analysis of gender in sports by reading and answering questions about Friday Night Lights. We will also read an article about separation of gender in sports, Women and Men in Sports, Separate is Not Equal, by Laura Papano and Eileen McDonough, and identify the author's claim. We will evaluate how well the authors support their claim in the text and discuss aloud as a class. So now we'll take a closer look at the 5 activities that make up Lesson 3. For activity 1, students respond to the question on the screen, which is Bissinger explains how Vicky Gomez's race impacted her political aspirations in Chapter 8. What evidence does he include that her gender also impacted her political career? So they respond to that in their learning logs using Chapter 8 and Friday Night Lights to support their answer. After writing, they discuss their response with a partner or small group. The purpose of this activity is the intent of this response is to connect the homework from the previous lesson with this lesson, ensuring students understand how the thread of gender in sports connects Friday Night Lights with the text for this lesson. Women and men in sports, separate is not equal. Suggested supports will be to augment this activity by having students work with a partner to compare the words they wrote down for homework in their vocabulary journals and using the new words in one of these suggested exercises in the teaching notes. Alternatively, the teacher might augment the activity to have students compare and discuss mentor sentences they wrote down for homework in their mentor sentence journal. For activity 2, students read and annotate the article, Women and Men in Sports, Separate is Not Equal, paying attention to the author's claims. Next, the class answers and discusses text-dependent questions from the Section 3 question set. The purpose of this activity is students will read this text twice, once in this activity and once in the following activity. Rereading text gives students another opportunity to comprehend complex text, and the question sets provide an additional access point to help students peel the layers of the text to arrive at a deeper understanding of its meaning. Suggested supports. If time is an issue, the teacher might assign each question to a different group in a jigsaw type activity. Key vocabulary that should be highlighted, defined, or discussed includes the 3 words on the screen, though we know that's not an exhaustive list depending on student needs. The teacher might also opt to have students continue to practice defining vocabulary by using context or by referencing sources such as a dictionary. Title IX is an important concept in this text, so students might benefit from an explanation of it. An excerpt from the U.S. Department of Education that pertains to Title IX is included in the teaching notes. In Activity 3, students work in groups to discuss the guiding question on the screen. What is the author's claim about the role of gender in athletics? Then closely reread the article using the Evaluating Ideas tool to evaluate the text, focusing on the author's purpose, perspective, and credibility with their groups. Purpose of this activity: after the initial reading of the text, students will have developed a general understanding of it. This will assist them as they work in small groups to determine the author's claim and complete the evaluating ideas tool with their groups. Suggested supports. If students are unfamiliar with the evaluating ideas tool, the teacher might explain its purpose and organization and model how students use it to move from key details to describing how the author's choices contribute to effects the text has on them and the meaning they find in the text. In Activity 4, students work in groups to analyze mentor sentences from the Mentor Sentence Handout 3 using the Working with Mentor Sentences tool. Purpose is rather than completing isolated language exercises, students effectively learn style and conventions by focusing on the writing they are studying. The purpose of the Mentor Sentence Journal is to encourage students to read like writers and to build a writer's toolbox of writing strategies to use in their own writing, such as the section diagnostic and culminating task. Suggested supports. This is the third mentor sentence activity in this unit. The teacher should consider whether students might benefit from another observation of modeling a sentence by engaging in a think aloud as they follow the steps for deconstruction, analysis, and writing practice. If necessary, they might work on the second sentence with the whole class, allowing the students to work as a group. Then divide students into productive groups and turn over the work to them. So a gradual release. The teacher might encourage students to look for mentor sentences that use the concept covered in this activity in Friday Night Lights and their independent reading text and to write them down in their mentor sentence journal. Depending on student needs, the teacher might determine specific concepts to focus on, including literary concepts, author mood, author methods, style, structure, grammar, or punctuation as applicable to each mentor sentence, using their knowledge of their students to determine which concepts would be most worthwhile and helpful to unpack. The teacher should also pre-decide if students will work as a whole class, in trios, in pairs, or individually on the complete set of mentor sentences, on an assigned sentence, or on multiple sentences. As students work, we should expect to see the teacher checking on individual understanding, pushing student thinking, and supporting them. Because there is no one right way to chunk each sentence, the teacher should encourage students to explain and discuss their reasoning for their decisions. In Activity 5, students read and annotate Part 1 of Chapter 9 in Friday Night Lights, paying attention to how Bissinger's perspective on gender roles is further developed. They also write new or interesting words in their vocabulary journal and sentences that stand out to them as interesting or that represent a strong example of a particular concept they have learned in their mentor sentence journals. Which brings us to our cub. We have students will know the author's claim in Women and Men in Sports, Separate is Not Equal. Students will understand what the authors believe about the role of gender in athletics, and they will be able to identify evidence the author uses to support the central claim in Women and Men in Sports, Separate is Not Equal by discussing and working in small groups to complete the Evaluating Ideas tool. So that's a wrap for this video. I welcome your feedback and look forward to hearing from you either on Twitter, via email, or in the comments. While you're here, don't forget to subscribe so you never have to worry about missing a video. Thanks for watching.